Hey, welcome everybody to see. Don't shake your head at me, man. Go ahead, talk. Why are you shaking your head?
I can't get into the song, man. I can't. Listen. I wanted to scream, like I was so excited for the. Anyway, I was hoping to hear you sing a song, David.
No, I was thinking about it. I gotta write. I gotta get some lyrics to that. But hey,
yeah,
you know, like I said, I think
What's
it's
up,
a good
man?
song. I think it's good. Great. I think it's a good intro. It kind of shows us who we are now, as opposed to just Jeff and Dave. It represents all of us. So, you know,
Sean looks like a pedophile.
I understand that you would probably be into more like the R. Kelly, you know, whatever intro music, but that's okay. We're good. Maybe we'll settle and we'll do like some country stuff. Maybe just have everybody hate it, except a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Except anyway, for the Steelers.
Welcome
in. So let's go. I'm sorry I coughed. I didn't mean to cough.
Mm-hmm. So what's happening? Speak, Jeff. We haven't seen you in a couple weeks.
Nothing's happening. There's free agency, bro. The tampering period came alive yesterday. The Steelers tampered with Russell Wilson's joystick, and then he moved over to Pittsburgh. There's a lot of great stuff happening, man. I mean, it's like, listen, look. For all of you that don't know, I hate football from January until August. Like I just don't even want to talk about it. David's been talking about the draft since January 7th. But this is like this week is the only period of time from Super Bowl conclusion, depending on what teams are in it, to the actual kickoff of the season. This week is the week I like. So Monday morning, you know, throughout the weekend and a couple days last week, there was some restructuring of contracts, cutting these players. Buffalo did a crazy mess of cutting players to get under the salary cap and all that stuff. We watched some teams do the same. And now we have the legal tampering period started yesterday. Tomorrow will be all the official signings of. So I think what I'm interested in, Eric, is from year to year, you know, you hear this guy or signed with this team in the legal tampering period time, and then come Wednesday, they go somewhere else. I think that the Cowboys are like historically notorious for players saying I'm going to play in Dallas on legal tampering days and then not go and play with Dallas. So I'm looking for, unfortunately, the only player that Dallas has done anything with is a long snapper. So we don't get to see Dallas get someone renege on a Dallas contract. But
maybe that's what Jerry's waiting for. Maybe he's waiting for the actual free agency period so he can get their name on the contract so they don't change their mind.
Man, well, look, a lot of changes, right? I think it's exciting. I think I think we'll talk specific players, Dave. I know we're going to talk specific players signing in different places. There's some big name players making moves. There's some, you know, shoring up. We busted Eric's chops all season long and talked about a quarterback and need a quarterback. Well, they answered that question. Whether it's the right answer or not, we can debate, but I'm not going to debate much about that until the season starts, because who knows? We got some months for them to practice, get together. But Russell Wilson, you know, thankfully for the Steelers, the Denver Broncos are just a shit show. Because to me, that's just absolutely. I mean, the only thing that could be worse than what Denver did to Russell Wilson is if Cleveland did the same to Deshaun Watson. And I'm not saying it was a disservice to the individual. It's just not good business, right? But anyhow, but you guys go out and get yourself a quarterback. Then you go and get yourself a linebacker and probably the biggest linebacker that's out there, in my opinion. I think Queen was probably the most sought after linebacker. So that's huge moves. Buffalo's doing some things, and obviously Jordan Poyer, my favorite. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. He goes and goes to Miami, which I'm not really excited about. But Davey, you can lead the ship. We'll talk. I do want to announce that.
I'm going to talk some players before we go into our topics. I'm going to wait for Sean to get on. He said he'd be here about 15 minutes. So here, you know what? Yeah, you're right. This is what I got to say, because we've been talking all week. The Bills went out and signed Mitch Trubisky. Eric down there laughs, jokes, and chuckles about Mitch Trubisky coming back to Buffalo as a backup quarterback. Here's my issue. If I get worked up over who the hell my backup quarterback is, I have a serious problem with my starter. Unlike a team like Pittsburgh, who until Russell Wilson signed, every one of their quarterbacks were backup caliber quarterbacks. So I don't care in Buffalo if Mitchell Trubisky is my backup. I hope I never have to see him unless there's like 2 minutes left in the game and he's taking a knee. So as long as that happens, I'm good. And even if I'm not, if Mitch Trubisky has to come in and play a game or two in a pinch for whatever reason, if Allen gets dinged up, whatever, I still like my chances because Mitch Trubisky runs my offense. You can sit there and laugh, okay, but I think Mitch Trubisky, what did he play last year in Pittsburgh? Did he have 1 or 2 touchdowns? That makes up 30% of your offense. So again, like I said, so again, I don't get worked up, or I care. It's kind of like what I'm saying when I go on X. Everybody's talking about these signings. I will never say who's a winner. I will never say this X team has done wonderful things, because 2 years ago, I torched Kansas City because they lost Tyreek Hill, this guy, that guy, whatever, and they were going to be horrible. And I learned my lesson. You can be a paper champion in March. It doesn't count until September through January. After the season, we can look back and say it worked out or it didn't. It's how those teams gel with all those new pieces. I'm okay with that. People on X are roasting the Bills about not signing X player and Y player and this player. I'll tell you, this is my reality, and you can all argue it, and I'll move on. What teams do? Buffalo did in free agency. They retain their players. They signed a depth player for a linebacker. Buffalo won the AFC East last year because of the depth they had and maintained on their defense because of all the injuries. So I will take depth signings in free agency and keep the guys that I think are important. Daquan Jones, AJ Epinesa, Rasul Douglas, Cam Lewis at safety, because there's still a draft that comes up in April that you're going to get a lot of players, young players, players in need positions who will probably that comes up in April. So I am not going to worry about Buffalo can go out and sign 50 all pros. It doesn't mean it's going to translate to success on the field. So I'm happy. There's some great players. I think Baltimore so far, with the signing of Derrick Henry, makes them probably one of the most dangerous teams just because of the skill set that offense already has. And you add a running back like Derrick Henry onto that roster, it is insane. So be that as it may, it's March. I got to see what happens on the field. Anyway, good evening, Sean. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Jeff, you kissed my ass. I heard that.
I didn't say it to be secretive.
Hey, Sean.
And it was this guy up here, man. Anyway, this guy, he comes out of nowhere. We don't see him for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, where's Chocolate Bear? I got no chocolate bear. I got.
He can't make it tonight. But I know you're upset because with Jeff here, you can't pull out the paper beard because you don't. So you're upset about that. I know you.
I know. I don't.
Have it ready.
All right, so real quick, right? Okay, so Dave, we've heard your bit, and it's wonderful. I mean, thank you for sharing. Welcome to the show tonight that we're going to talk about Mitchell Trubisky, right? And I love that for everybody signing that we're talking about Mitch Trubisky. And that's how, I mean, we talk about Dallas, but that Buffalo's celebrated move so far this offseason, bringing an outsider named Mitch Trubisky. So I pray that you don't see him because when he did play, he was really bad. Really bad. And so you could have signed the only worst signing that you could have signed to back up Allen, and I hope he doesn't get hurt because I like Josh Allen. I bust his balls, but I think he's one. I was talking before the show. One of the 5 or 6 franchise quarterbacks that are in the league is Josh Allen. So I don't want anybody's franchise quarterback to get hurt. Plus, it's funnier when you lose in the playoffs and he's healthy. So ideally, I want him to be the guy. But the fact that you guys were posting like him smiling. Like, look at me, I'm signing with Buffalo, and welcome back. It just was funny, and it was funny because he's terrible. And the only one worse you could sign was Winston, who, lucky for me, went to the other team I really could care less with, which is Cleveland. Because
I digress, Eric. You've probably got the worst backup quarterback in the league.
Oh no, Pickett.
Kenny Pickett.
He's better than
worst backup quarterback in the league. Kenny Pickett.
Amen. Here we are talking about a bunch of
brother.
quarterbacks on the show tonight, gentlemen. But Kenny's terrible. So I mean, let's not say, but Mitch is really bad. Really.
Hey, in all actuality, right? So, yeah, exactly. Mitch is Mitch, right? Who gives it? I mean, I don't give it. I don't care who the backups for anybody is. I actually, when I actually consider these backup questions, Eric, kind of came and played last year, but it only came and play in the places where I feel as though that I thought quarterbacks were going to be injured. And I never think that Burrow's going to get hurt, even though he's proven that he gets hurt. We talked, and if KD was here, we talked about Huntley because he hadn't signed yet. And at the time, Lamar Jackson was still a free agent-ish because he wasn't going to sign, and all that stuff went around, right? And Huntley's an actual decent backup that loses regularly. So, his record is atrocious. He doesn't play horrible. The team plays bad. But when I did look at it, I looked at who is the backup for Richardson in Indianapolis. Gardner Minshew. Good thing because Gardner Minshew is a decent quarterback because he's going to be playing, and that was a given for me. So as we start looking, by the way, last year was a catastrophic year for starting quarterbacks. I can't remember how many starting quarterbacks started last year, 70, I think, something like that, which was just an ungodly number, but it wasn't the worst ever. It was just a really high number comparable to that of past. I think only one year they had more quarterbacks that were hurt, right? Anyhow, all that being said, backups are
Mr. Griffith has said he's parting ways with his team. Any suggestions for a new one? You can always come to Bill's Mafia, brother.
Buffalo Bills Power Hour here.
It's crazy.
We'll send you a table to jump through, and you are now a member of the Bills Mafia.
So before we digress real quick, Sean, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers leaving the Jets to run for vice president with the independent team?
Oh, this is a good one. First of all, Eric, don't join the Bills Mafia. You're a Cowboy fan. You've had enough disappointment in your life. Don't be a Jet fan. You'll have more disappointment. Go for someone like,
Houston.
Go to Houston. If you like the Cowboys, go to Houston because they're going to be good. Okay, as far as Aaron Rodgers, the man can sling it. Other than that, I do not agree with anything that comes out of that man's mouth that it does not have to do with football. So let's just, he could play next year, win the Super Bowl, and then 3 years down the road, he can go into politics for all I care, and that's fine.
Oh, my God. So now we got Sean, who's more delusional than Aaron Rodgers.
Sean, I'm not standing against you, Sean. Look, at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers in New York is going to be a hell of a. If he stays healthy, the Jets are going to be a tough team. The Jets were a tough team last year, not record wise, but their defense was stout and their offense sucked. And with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, if you can get some good quarterback play, the Jets could be a very competitive team yet again. But we'll see. But anyhow, I'm kind of blown away by some inactive player coaching or team, excuse me, through this free agency thing. And it's only day 2, and I get it. But a lot of the top 100 players that they've talked about are kind of coming off the board. The Cowboys haven't done anything. They signed a long snapper, which was pretty interesting to me, just in the sense that there were a lot of rumors, if you will, speculation of potential players that they were interested in, Derrick Henry being one. There was a couple guys, but they've had some players leave. They've had a couple of those on the way to Washington to go link back up with Dan Quinn. But they haven't really done anything. So I'm interested to see what they do. I don't think that their inactivity is going to be that detrimental to them come season time. I am interested, though, because I think there's enough separation between Dallas and Washington and Dallas and the Giants, right? The interesting thing is Philly is making moves after moves after moves, and I don't know where they get all the money from and what they're doing because they're good on them because they went out and got Saquon Barkley. They went out C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, there's some players that are going to Philly. I mean, they lost Fletcher Cox to retirement. They lost Jason Kelce to retirement. But they're making up for it. So I'm not sure. I think Dallas feels as though they're competitive. I'm sure Dallas will do what Dallas needs to do to stay competitive within that division. But anyway, neither here nor there. David, let's real quick, instead of talking about teams, I know we're going to go talk about the NFC South and the NFC West, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but before we do that, let's talk about some players that move to new teams. Who do you want to talk about first?
Anybody? You brought it up, man. Talk Derrick Henry. Let's talk Derrick Henry. I think that's one of the major signings. So let's talk Henry.
Hold on. Do I agree Giants trading for Burns, but knowing they don't have an offense? No, that's an interesting question, Dave. I'll start there. I mean, I like the Henry thing. I think we have a lot to talk about there. But I like this comment. I don't know what the Giants are doing. Honest to God, like it's interesting to me looking at, I mean, they signed Isaiah McKenzie. They brought in, didn't they bring in Singletary, the running back, Devin Singletary? It looks like Brian Dable's reaching out to all of his bag of tricks from Buffalo to bring back some level of offense to hang out with Daniel Jones. I don't think it's going to work. But at the end of the day, the Giants defense kept them in games last year. Daniel Jones being out, and this is hard for me, Dave, because Daniel Jones ain't a $40 million quarterback. And it's hard for me to even remotely think that the value of that contract is going to come into fruition now that you lost the 85% offense that you had in Saquon Barkley. So trading for that guy is good. I don't think it matters to the Giants. Giants still finished last in that division and by a lot.
Well, here, can I speak on it real quick?
Yeah,
so this is what I'll say. First of all, based on reports that I've read today, the Giants will be cutting Daniel Jones as a post-June 1st cap hit. So that's what I've seen. So Daniel Jones is not going to be part of the Giants' plans. They signed Drew Lock, and I'm sure at number 6 they're going to draft a quarterback. So here, this is the one thing that I will say. Joe Shane came from the Buffalo Bills organization. And the one thing that the Buffalo Bills organization did is they built from the defense out to the offense. So year one, when Sean McDermott was there, they traded that pick. So Patrick Mahomes went to Kansas City. They traded for that pick and got Trey White. They built the defense up and then added the offensive pieces the next year and the following year. I believe the Giants are trying to do the similar thing. you go out and trade for probably one of the better defensive ends in football. You do the things that will help your defense stay competitive while you're nurturing a young offensive rookie. You try to put pieces around them, okay? And you just gradually get better by plugging the pieces in to fit that offense. Singletary is a pretty decent signing for them. I mean, you lose Saquon, it's hard to replace Saquon Barkley with any one player. But, you do what you can. It's going to take a year or two to develop those offensive players. So what do? The easiest thing to do is build your defense up so that by the time your offense is ready, you already have a stout defense. And so I think that's what the Giants are doing. I think they're following the mold of a lot of teams that have young quarterbacks, is to build that defense. Houston in particular. Houston hit lightning last year with C.J. Stroud. But what they're doing this year is they are just pounding on that defense with Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson. They traded for Joe Mixon. I mean, that team is explosive. So, I just look at the team and look at the Giants and understand that it's going to be a process. They're in a tough division. There's no overnight success, but you have to do certain things. And I think from the Giants standpoint, building the defense is the smartest thing, because that's where you can fill your holes early and worry about your offense down the road. Eric, you got something to say?
All right. So with the Giants, I think our fan asked what team should he switch to. Let's not switch to them either, because they're if they trade Daniel, or if they cut Daniel Jones, like you said, you waited this long into free agency now. Russell Wilson visited you, and he didn't want to come over there, even knowing that Daniel Jones isn't going to be there. So who do you legitimately play at quarterback at this rate? Ryan Tannehill? I mean, who do you get? Mason Rudolph? You're not
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. I mean, okay. I do think Brian Daboll was the offensive mind that Josh Allen so misses in Buffalo. Just to give you guys some love over there, but I don't think even he and his coach of the year wisdom can fix that mess that's on offense. He doesn't have a run game, and he's going to get some running backs, and that's okay. That from Buffalo, they weren't that good anyways because Buffalo let him go. Okay, and wide receiver wise, he still has nobody who's that good, and he's got a good tight end. So ideally, I don't know how they fix that team. It's a team that I think should be looking at Quinn Ewers in a year and trying to get, obviously an elite quarterback in there. And I think Quinn Ewers is going to be the elite quarterback next year. Or Andy Dalton. I love that.
No, our fan.
Oh, okay.
It's Roadhouse. I just went Roadhouse on your ass.
Hey, listen, you took a shot, and I want to kind of just deflect the shot a little bit. You said they came from Buffalo and they probably weren't that good to begin with, but I just want to throw it out there that Devin Singletary had his best year last year in Houston as they backup that turned starter and did well. Zach Moss just signed with the Bengals because of the breakout season he had when old boy was hurt over there in Indy. We have good backs, and they would have been good, but Buffalo didn't use them until last year with Cook. So I wouldn't say they're not good backs, but I digress. I don't care. I don't think that they're Saquon Barkley either. So
why would Singletary go from Buffalo then down to Houston and then end up on another team all in 3 years? That tells me that, okay, well, we think they're replaceable and we can find somebody else to do exactly.
Well, there's dollars associated too, right? So, I mean, he replaced him with Joe Mixon.
Three teams in 3 years, though. That's I think telling for any player, right? So
Baker Mayfield had 3 teams in a halftime,
Look at here's the fact. It's hard to judge the running back market because the running back market is so fluid. I mean, this is going to be DeAndre Swift's third team in 3 years. He went from Detroit to where? Where did he go last year?
Carolina.
No, not DeAndre Swift.
Oh, Philly.
Oh, Swift. Yeah, he's Philly.
He went from Detroit to Philly. Now he's in Chicago. 3 teams in 2 years. So, or 3. So again, the running back market is so fluid, and it's such an interchangeable thing. Yeah, Devin Singletary was fine in Houston, but when you can upgrade and get a guy like Joe Mixon who can bring other aspects to that game to help that team, sure, it makes sense. And now Devin Singletary is going to go to a team where he's going to get have the opportunity to be the total lead back in that offense because Saquon Barkley's gone.
Yeah. So David, now that we touched on the Giants and I like your perspective. I think it makes sense, especially with the mind of where they're coming from. I think at the end of the year, Dable has no job, which will be fine. Sure. Anyhow, yeah.
Can I just say one thing to Eric real quick?
Mahomes
restructured for $23 million, and it was reported that by tonight, the Chiefs hope to have Marquise Brown signed as a Kansas City Chief.
Oh, a true number 1. Anyway, yeah, I'm not a Marquise Brown fan. I'm sorry, but that's just me.
Tyreek ripoff.
Yeah. So look, you asked the question, or you posed starting off with Derrick Henry in Baltimore. To me, today, in my mind, that's the biggest signing of the offseason thus far to me. Not because Henry is still 25 years old. David, you and I talked about Henry last year, and we talked about Henry this year. And the teams, the very few teams that we said that if Henry went to this team, it could be detrimental to whomever they play. Baltimore was one of those teams. Buffalo was another one of those teams. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles was another team. There were some teams that have the quarterback. I don't think that the Buffalo Bills offense is the same as Lamar Jackson's run offense. But I think because we don't run so many option plays, there is runs, but it's more from scrambles and moving in that direction. Lamar Jackson, the way they're going to have to defend the Baltimore Ravens is going to be interesting because I know they had Gus Edwards, and I know that they've had J.K. Dobbins, and I know that they've had many backs back there that do well. They've never had Henry. And I don't think, the fact that you can't just load 8 in a box and try to stop both Lamar and Henry, because Lamar can still maneuver and get outside and throw the ball down the field, which is significant. And then you can't play one-on-one because you can't let Henry get into the second and third rung of your defense. He makes those people look dumb. So I just think that that's a significant signing to give Lamar Jackson, who again had a fake ass MVP year, an opportunity to have a good ass MVP campaign next year, right? I still harbor some hate towards that decision, but at the end of the day, that is a humongous piece. Again, that has to play out on paper. We know that, but I think that that's a huge automatic change in the offense that kind of brings some fear to the other side.
I am sorry, guys, but I looked and I did not get the PDF from KD that download all of our stuff for the AFC South and our NFC South and NFC West. So I don't have any slides. I don't have any stuff.
That's all right. We don't need slides. Did he send it to me?
I don't know. I don't know. And if he sent it in our group chat, it's about 45,000 messages up. So anyway, we can talk about the teams based on what they've done so far.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's up, Eric? What's this?
No, I'd point at we're 45,000 messages because every time I go to lift at the gym, Jeffrey will send me some nice post asking me how my day's going.
Yeah, I'm going to call bullshit on that immediately. Eric, you post by far the most. I'd say it's got to be minimum 5 to 1. 5 to 1.
And all you got to do is start off by saying Ben Roethlisberger's pass to Jesse James was incomplete. And that just changes a little bit.
So now Eric Griffith here says, do you think they won't re-sign Snead with that money? They could. again, they did give him permission to request or seek a trade, and they gave him permission to talk to teams. So again, with that 23 million, obviously, I don't know what I forget what Kansas City's cap space was coming in. But again, if you're getting 23 million, obviously you're freeing that up for a reason, whether that's to extend Snead out. They did have to pay Chris Jones a massive amount of money in his contract. So whether that's to free up money for that, along with other free agents that you have to sign, but I could see them, trying to extend Snead. But again,
they don't have the money right now, Dave. That they're still only like $850,000. I mean, it's not a lot, but I'm sure there's other things that got to be done. So.
Right. Oh, I'm sure.
Did the Chris Jones re-signing shock anybody? Because it did me. I did not think he was going to re-sign. I thought he was pretty pissed.
It didn't shock me. What shocked me was the amount of money he got. That's what shocked me.
The time he got, because he's not a young kid. But
no.
Hey,
good for him.
Yeah. Eric, spot on. That play action is going to be crazy. I mean, it is. And if Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar did a great job this season from going from what he was the previous part of his career to right now. I think there was a good transition. I think the early part of the season was rough. I think he picked it up as he went along. I think it's only going to get better. But yeah, the Chris Jones signing was shocked to me. Not that he stayed, that they paid that much. I mean, I was kind of blown away, and I was kind of blown away that the Bucs were able to re-sign both Baker and Evans. But
yeah, that was another re-signing. I didn't think Evans was gonna stay there, but he's been a Buck, and he wanted to be a Buck. That was important. What about the Kirk Cousins deal? I mean, I know we don't really care about it, but
I do.
That division is honestly, it's up for grabs.
Yeah. I don't think it's up for grabs, Sean. I'm of the belief it's not. I'm of the belief it's not up for grabs. I'm of the belief that Atlanta is the grabber. Like I truly believe. Like I think Kirk Cousins gets a lot of shit, and as he should, because he doesn't win. Right? I think he's been in the league for 12 seasons. I think he's got one playoff appearance, if not even win. I don't even know if he won the game. I mean, I think he lost, but so that's it. The thing is, and we can go back into the timeline of Kirk Cousins drafted by Washington. He's competing with RG3. RG3 gets hurt. He plays a little bit, but then he goes and decides to go get paid all that money from Minnesota, right? Washington didn't have a great defense when he was there. Washington spent the next 10 years getting first-round draft choices for that defense, right, to where they bolstered a good defense. Well, he goes to Minnesota, and before he got to Minnesota, Minnesota had a great defense. Then they spent money to guarantee Kirk Cousins a lot of cash. I think Kirk Cousins was the first fully guaranteed contract, if I'm not mistaken, when he got there at $100 million. But nonetheless, what that did to Minnesota's defense was let it go. He didn't have a defense, and they didn't play good football. He is a consistent 4,000 passer, 2-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio, or 24 touchdowns, 6 to 8 interceptions. That's a pretty good stat line for a quarterback. I mean, weighty moments aside, Eric, I know I don't have the weighty moment thing in there right now, but I will tell you, Atlanta, as bad as they were last year, their defense wasn't a bad defense. They actually played good football, and their offense just couldn't do anything. Well, now you add your Robinson, you got Drake London, you got the tight end that I think hasn't had an opportunity to get thrown the ball to by anybody. I think that Kirk Cousins could make a difference in Atlanta, at least in the division. I'm not putting them up with Philly and San Francisco and the juggernauts of the conference, but I do say in that division, they definitely are the team to beat. Even though Tampa won the division marginally and narrowly, right? So,
Anthony, I got to disagree with you. I mean, Kirk Cousins has a great agent, but the best agent in football was whoever was the agent for Sam Bradford. The dude played like 9 games in the NFL and got paid like $300 million. Yeah. This guy was injured more than a one-legged man, two-legged race.
Do you remember when Sam Bradford? Do you remember when
Sam Bradford got Sam Bradford got like 30 million guaranteed from Arizona to come in as a backup.
Do you remember when the Rams and you had all the Vikings and they're all fighting over this guy, and the rest of the world's like, why?
What is wrong with him?
Yeah, what are you doing?
When Bradford played, he was good, but he just didn't play. He was hurt every single game.
5'8", 165 pounds playing quarterback. I mean, you just couldn't take a hit. I'm
sorry, never mind. It wasn't Sam Bradford. I was going to say something, but
we're talking NFC South real quick. So, I mean, since we don't have our slides, it comes down to this. Which one of these old veteran quarterbacks is going to be worth a damn? Because we got Baker, we've got Carr, we've got the old boy Kirk Cousins. I mean, and then we've got Bryce Young, who has suddenly Deontay Johnson, who's going to be good, which is hilarious because – you know what? And just real quick on the Deontay Johnson, I see that Anthony's talked about him a few times. So Deontay Johnson's big thing was, I want to play with a good quarterback. Get me out of Pittsburgh. He's fighting all year, wanting to play with a good quarterback. Then he gets traded to Bryce Young. So I can't wait to watch how that works out.
I think that he's in the same mindset. He's like, well, you might as well trade me. You didn't get a good quarterback.
Okay, I'm fair. We'll take our shots.
I'll say that Deontay Johnson has a good opportunity to play with Tez Walker.
I don't know that they're going to draft a wide receiver in Carolina. They've got plenty of young wide receivers now, so I don't think so. I mean, not that Deontay Johnson.
They got Josh Downs. That's who
they got. And Thielen's still there, isn't he? I mean, so they're not. I don't think they're going to go out and get a wide receiver there.
No, they've got a couple needs, and we'll see. But hey, I gotta be honest, man. And it's funny to me because Baker Mayfield's not old. I mean, Cousins is old. Carr is getting old. Baker's what, 30? Maybe he's not old. I think that I get frustrated when, and it's not about Baker Mayfield per se. We had this conversation before the show with the Josh Allen conversation when we talked about the 3 offensive coordinators he's had since he's been in the league, right? Justin Fields gets a lot of flack and get a lot of buys because his offense sucks and he's been going through these offensive coordinators and things of that nature. Yeah, Baker Mayfield's been in the league for 7 years now, and I think he's had 9 offensive coordinators, right? So there's got to be, I mean, you got to give this dude a little credit for being able to still stay around with all the different offenses, of all the different minds and all the different voices and all the other stuff, and he's still plugging away. So anyway, I say that to say, I look at Tampa. I like Tampa. I live in Tampa, and I like Baker being here. Their defense has holes. Their offense has holes. I mean, I like Mike Evans. They didn't re-sign Russell Gage, which is fine. The other cat continues to get hurt. What's his name? What's the other guy's name, Dave, in Tampa? The receiver.
Good
one. Chris Godwin.
Who?
Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin. Godwin stays often injured. And their tight end is okay, but at the end of the day, they don't have a real running game. White came on last year, but he didn't do great. They have to address some things for Baker to be good. I think that if you were to look at the teams as they stand right now today, Atlanta's the most solid, right? And you bring a solid quarterback in there. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a MVP candidate, but he's a prolific 4,000-yard passer with 20+ touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions annually. And he's going to be good at the position. So what do the Saints do? That's the question.
And I think one of the underrated things they did is they signed Darnell Mooney. Okay. And again, Mooney is a decent wide receiver. He was decent in Chicago with the lack of quarterback play that Chicago had. And now you're going to put him on a team. I think you're going to be able to see Drake London finally flourish in an offense along with Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan Robinson. I just think that team itself is going to, from a whole, evolve and be so much more explosive offensively. I think with the quarterbacks they had last year, I think it was very it was very tough to do that and allow the team itself to capitalize on the talent they had. I think Kirk Cousins will bring that out. But I look at that Darnell Mooney signing as a very under the radar, huge signing for Atlanta to help bring the offense, full circle and give it that.
Real quick, can we put up that picture, because all of you who've ever watched this show know my disdain for Skip Bayless. I am not a big fan of that man. I love Rich Eisen, and Rich Eisen had the ultimate X SmackDown today.
Hold on.
Yes, you gotta get rid of the.
Let me move something real quick.
Skip Bayless posted under, I think it was RG3, all in my ass. And Rich Eisen, I thank the comma for its service.
Well,
Hey.
Absolutely. Rich is the man.
So what I saw on Facebook was Skip Bayless initially posted all in my ass without a comma. Doran Dickerson retweeted that with the heading, "Hey Skip, commas matter." So I think Skip went back in and redid and edited his tweet that put the comma back in there. So again, Skip Bayless, not a smart dude.
Hey,
Let me ask
number 8. Just so you know, the Falcons have the number 8 overall pick in the draft. Yes.
Let me ask the viewers real quick, and you guys, what's funnier, Aaron Rodgers debating against whoever Trump has and whoever Biden has at a vice presidential debate, or Skip Bayless and his BS? I think the Rodgers thing takes the day in terms of the funny thing. I think you do too, Sean, right? Because now you'd be stuck with who at quarterback?
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor?
Oh, I thought since Kamala wasn't going to get elected, she'd be our quarterback, which can't be worse than Zach Wilson. So, Skip Bayless, choke on that. Other thing what I want to talk about was the Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and going to Philly. Then, of course, you got Tiki Barber. You're dead to me. You're dead to me. Stupid. I don't think we have to go into that too much. Hey, Paoli, Hot Pockets, what's going on? So, oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Hey,
he's doing a good job. I can't.
This dude's a beast, man. Listen, all I know is whatever that guy's doing, good on him. He's making great decisions with money, and the fact that they're able to do what they're able to do is pretty impressive. But Saquon Barkley going to Philly, Sean, big deal.
It's huge.
It is, as long as he stays healthy. Because the thing about it is, Eric doesn't have to grab. No one has to agree. But out of the backfield, Saquon Barkley is a top threat of anything, from running to catching. Right? What I think was a significant letdown for Philly last year is that they moved on from whatchamacallit. Who was it that they let walk away last year?
Oh, he went to
Dave, pay attention.
He went to the Bears, didn't he?
Who was the running back that left?
David Montgomery. Who left Philly? Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders. And what you got with Miles Sanders was some good production out of the backfield that wasn't just running. Gainwell did some things. Miles Sanders did some things. But Miles Sanders, they couldn't rebuild that with Swift, right? I think you're going to get a hell of a running back that can run, but you also have the dude that can come out of the backfield. Again, 85% of the Giants' offense ran through Saquon Barkley. And I don't believe A.J. Brown's going to be in Philly next year, so I think that'll figure out where A.J. Brown lands, because he's not going to be on the opening day roster for certain. But it's a matter of who replaces him. But still, Saquon Barkley is going to be a huge win for Philly as long as he stays healthy.
Does he stay healthy?
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know,
he did last year, man. He took a pounding. He did everything for that team.
I'm going to say this, and I said it at the beginning of the show. I said it before the show, and I'm going to say it again. Yep, Howie Roseman, he is the king of the paper champion free agency bonanza. Put it to use in the regular season. We saw everybody last year. We sat on this show and watched the draft fall, and we thought that the Philadelphia Eagles would go 17-0, maybe not 17-0, but with everything the way it fell in the draft, all those players they picked, the offense, Jalen Hurts coming off a near Super Bowl victory, everybody making him the number 2 quarterback in the NFL, all this other stuff. And it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I know. I see him. And it's a beautiful thing. But like I said, about free agency or anything, you can sign all these players. You got to get them all to gel. There's 53 men, and they all got to be able to play together. And we saw the Philadelphia Eagles implode last year, so they need to find out whatever's in that locker room, the cancer that Eric likes to call it, get rid of it, because that will, I don't care what it is.
It's AJ Brown. Listen, I was watching it earlier. The guy wouldn't say specifically what happened. It was an off-the-field incident that someone did something. There's speculation that there's wives involved and things of that nature, but off-the-field shenanigans made it so that it was very difficult to have a clean locker room. And that happened when they were, I think, 10-1 or something like that. And then from that point forward, they didn't get right. And I think it might have had to do with Buffalo. I'm kidding. I don't know about the Buffalo part. I just wanted to add that in because it's got to be about me. But A.J. Brown had some issues, and now he will not be in Philly this year. But anyway.
What's funny is about Buffalo, and you said it is about Buffalo, I think you guys, in terms of where A.J. Brown ends up going, that's where he probably should end up going because Buffalo obviously needs to figure out what and I don't disagree, that's their problem is their coach. That's Buffalo's problem, too, is why they haven't won a Super Bowl. But ideally, I think A.J. Brown, do you bring him in and how's the locker room going to be with Diggs and A.J. Brown? I think it'll be one of the fun storylines, and I think that's why Buffalo really has been kind of coy about what they've done and not signed any outside free agents yet. They're still figuring out their cap situation to probably make a run at an A.J. Brown in a trade because you either, with the core and retaining Buffalo, you either win now or you don't. But you can't kind of ride that line. You've got to try to win now with some of these in the 30s, and we discussed this in length all the time. So ideally, A.J. Brown trade in the next week or two, and I think that's the next big story, the next big domino to fall. Do we agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think A.J. Brown would be a great addition. I mean, there's a couple guys. A.J. Brown is someone I've always liked, and the fact that Tennessee traded him was absolutely ridiculous and kind of the dagger in the chest of the GM over there, of course. No, he's not the problem, but there was a problem, and it became a problem. Like I said, it's not A.J. Brown wasn't the guy that created the issue, but A.J. Brown is the guy that's going to leave the situation. I don't remember what the guy was saying, Mike. I'll figure it out. But
let me just say, here's the thing: he was on Tennessee, great weapon at Tennessee. Tennessee trades him. Why? Okay, that was a big question. And you're like, this guy is the biggest idiot of a GM, and he got fired right away for it. But now all of a sudden, this stuff is happening in Philly. Might this be a pattern that we're just not seeing? You can say, shake your head, no, all you want. And he had a knee injury the last game of the season. They said, but it's not serious. And then he didn't play.
No, I know why they traded him. It was Tennessee did not want to pay him the money. That's why he got traded. And they thought that Traylon Burks was going to be, he's built like A.J. Brown. He's this like A.J. Brown. And I don't know what this means. If anybody watches Friends, I don't know what this means. So anyway, the fact is A.J. Brown was traded because they thought Traylon Burks was a cheaper version of A.J. Brown. And they found out differently. Be that as it may. The fact that the way I look at A.J. Brown is this. I don't know how many years he has left on his contract, okay? For a team like Buffalo to want to sign him, if I'm going to trade for an A.J. Brown, I want him to be on his last year of his deal. I don't want to have to sign a guy and give him $150 million. Just the same reason why, as much as I'm enamored and would love to see Buffalo, if Justin Jefferson is not happy, to make a trade for a Justin Jefferson, the fact that he turned down $30 million a year to play in Minnesota, I'm not trading for a guy that wants that kind of money. I can't afford to invest $30 million in a wide receiver and $50 million in
Who's that, Dave?
Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
So
Hey, just so you're tracking for factual basis for you, in 2022, AJ Brown signed a 4-year, $100 million, $57 million guaranteed contract. He's in his 3rd year of that 4-year contract, so he's probably owed somewhere in the $20 million range, if not a little less. But I'm sure that
they extended him.
Right,
they extended him in 2023 for $100 million, $57 million guaranteed. Goes 2023 through 2026. The extension.
Either way, it'd be good.
So again, I don't care if he has term as long as it's not cap temperamental. And again, I think Buffalo also, or any team, you got to look at your cap. You got to look at what you're doing. But more importantly, where does it put your team in terms of, if you already have one wide receiver who's getting $25 million, do you want to add another $25 million in your receiving room?
I do. I want to add 4 receivers at $25 million.
Well, no, I get it. I'm just saying it's got to make cap sense, and so that's the issue. But again,
check us out.
But not real hypotheticals. Let's talk about what is today.
What is today?
What is today? It's Tuesday. But more importantly, what one other free agent or what free agent really do you think makes an impact on the team they go to?
Patrick Queen.
You think Patrick Queen?
Yeah.
Hey,
listen, Dave, do you remember
Yeah.
when Baltimore drafted Patrick Queen a few years back? We're watching the draft live here on this show, and he fell down to like wherever, and Baltimore grabbed him, and we're like, how in the hell do we look at Baltimore keep getting these stellar players? And we said, this guy's going to be a good player. Well, it took him a little bit of time to become that good player. And it's, from last year to this year, significant jump. He was good last year, but this season right now, he took a significant jump in growth, maturity, just skill set. Watching him play the game as fast as he was. I mean, between him and Roquan Smith, they were handling their business. They were keys to leading the Triple Crown for Baltimore. And, I pride myself in, even though I hate the Steelers because Eric's on the show. If Eric wasn't on the show, I probably wouldn't say half the bad shit I do about him. But because this guy gets the yap, I have to talk nonsense about the Steelers. But a few years back, and I made this point earlier, a few years back, the Steelers were 11-0. And it was when Ben Roethlisberger, it was geriatric, should have been in a walker playing, and his offense was garbage. That offense was, like Eric said, he hadn't seen an offense nearly as bad as this year's Steelers offense. And I said, you should have went back to when they were 11-0 because it was atrocious. It was just bad, right? But they were 11-0 because their linebacking core, which I believe at the heart of all Steelers good teams, their linebacking core runs it. And I haven't that year. You could watch them as they just trickled down. Dupree got hurt. Then Spillane had to come in. Spillane wasn't even a real player at that time. He was like a 5th string dude, but he started playing, and I loved that guy. Went over to Raiders, and he did well there. But as you watch that linebacking core just trickle down, well, their offense couldn't no longer maintain the scoring, right? And all that happened is you went from 11-0. I think they won one more game that year, which was by accident at best because it was a god-awful game. And then they went down 28-0 to Cleveland in that first playoff game. Yes, Ben played and came back, but they lost, right? Nonetheless. I say that because when you look at Roberts and you look at Queen in that defense, when the Pittsburgh Steelers linebacking core is tight and they're good, it allows for the TJ Watts, the Cam Haywards, all those guys to do their job, which is to just move forward. They can stuff the run and they can put pressure on the quarterback. But a lot of times when their linebacking core is struggling, you'll see these guys drop into pass coverage, which I know it plays a decoy role and stuff, but you don't want TJ Watt jumping out into coverage. I mean, you want him going behind the line of scrimmage. And when they do that, it allows for those linebackers to play in that place, which allows for that back four to do their job, right? The Minka Fitzpatricks and now the young Joey Porter Juniors to play their roles. I think this is a huge signing and maybe one of the most. I mean, we'll see. I don't think it's the Russell Wilson level thing. Like, I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be all of a sudden the great Russell Wilson again, but I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense will be better than they were this past year. I believe that. And I think that if they are better and they had 16 points per game, I think that's what they averaged, giving up 16 points a game, roughly. They're going to be sub that. And if they're sub that, then that's going to put a good twist on what their offense must do. I still think they finish in fourth place and lose to everybody, but I think that that's a huge signing, and I'm just busting your balls, Eric, there. But I think that Queen is, Dave, in my opinion, the biggest defensive signing, other than every single human being that Houston's touched this year so far.
So yeah, I mean, Houston. I'll hit on that point, and we'll move to Houston because Daniel Hunter signing with Houston, I think, is a underrated, sneaky good move for the Houston Texans, who I think are gearing up for a run at the AFC title. I think they're going to be a very good team. Years ago, they went out and signed James Ferrier from the Jets at middle linebacker, and that propelled that defense with Harrison, with Woodley, with Joey Porter, all the different outside linebackers to all of a sudden become a historic great defense because James Ferrier would be not only the signal caller and call the right signals, but he would also make the critical 3-yard tackle, 4-yard tackle, and be solid in coverage. And everybody all of a sudden could do their defensive responsibilities because Ferrier was always in the right place at the right time. So the hope that Patrick Queen can play the James Ferrier role, who maybe is one of the more underrated names of that legendary defense that was back then. So I don't disagree with you. And so I think it's a solid move. But I think Daniel Hunter, can he come in and not only do what he does, but mentor some of the young Houston Texan pass rushers, the Will Anderson Jr.? Does he have that effect that he raises the play of some of the Houston Texans' young defensive players, where all of a sudden Houston will have a great defense? And let's not forget the Texans have one of the great defensive minds in the game coaching that defense right now. So I do think that's a sneaky good move, and that would be my good move, though I think Queen will have a huge impact. But I do think Daniel Hunter will have just as big of an impact on the Houston Texans, who are going to be a scary team.
Now, Sean, to the Jets, I really like the fact they haven't picked up many, but I really like the fact that they're addressing their defensive line, and they went out and signed Javon Kinlaw, the defensive lineman from San Francisco. You've already had a great defense to begin with. Now you get a disruptive force in Kinlaw that can put pressure up the middle on a quarterback. He can stuff the run, and then you can have your linebackers, the C.J. Mosleys, and the rest of those guys just wreak havoc. Again, in the AFC, for that defense in the AFC East, it's going to put pressure on Allen. It's going to put pressure on Tua. Whoever the Jets sign, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, whoever happens, or not the Jets, the Patriots, whichever quarterback or whichever one they get. I'm really excited about what the Jets are doing to bolster an already strong defense. I'd like to see them add another playmaker on offense to help Aaron Rodgers. David Bakhtiari was cut by Green Bay. I think that means that he'll probably be a Jet here in the next couple days or so, as long as he can pass the physical and do all that kind of good stuff. So tell me what you think about that signing and what the Jets are doing.
It was a good signing. We lost Huff, which hurt because he was a big sack guy. I don't think that bringing him in is going to be, it's going to give a little more. Quentin Williams is going to be able to go a little more. I'm not overly impressed on what they're doing so far, but Jets don't have a lot of money. They're not going to go out and make a $40 million signing for a receiver for a couple of years. They're just not going to be able to do that. We don't have that kind of money. We signed the Ravens, the guard from the Ravens, which yes, that helps.
Jackson.
Yeah, I think the big splash that the Jets are going to make is that left tackle from the Cowboys.
Tryon Smith.
I was trying to think it was Trevon or whatever. Tryon Smith. I think they're gonna get him. I think that's what they're working on because they really need to shore up that offensive line. So they just don't. If they're going to spend big bucks on anything, they're going to go for a proven quantity at guard, left tackle, because they absolutely have to. If Aaron Rodgers goes down, Jets are done. You haven't missed anything on the Saints yet, Paul, except for they're terrible.
They haven't done anything.
Yeah, well, right now there's still 78,000 million underneath the cap or whatever.
They brought back the Honey Badger and Willie Gay.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's all right.
I mean, Willie Gay's good. I mean,
yeah,
he is.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City lost their whole linebacking core, but anyway, back to just real quick. They're just they're going to put all their eggs kind of in one basket, as we have done for the last 2 years. And we're not going to make a big splash in free agency. I know Breece Hall is complaining about it. It's like, dude, you got $6 and you're looking at $10 items on the shelf. You can't buy them,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it is what it is. And we made a lot of mistakes last year with Lazard and everyone from Green Bay coming over. That was stupid. But yeah, that's about it for the Jets. They're not going to make. They're going to have one big signing. Hopefully, it'll be at left tackle or right tackle. I don't care. Any freaking buddy who's going to play on the line and not just go, hey, go through. That's all I got.
So hey, I'll say something about who?
David Bakatari, whatever his name is.
No,
Becton?
he didn't retire. He got cut.
No, Becton's a lost cause, man. You got to get him out of there.
No, I know Becton. I'm talking about the dude from Green Bay that Aaron Rodgers is going to bring to.
David Bakhtiari just got cut.
Oh, Lazard and the other.
Well, the problem with Bakhtiari is no matter what, whoever brings Bakhtiari in, he's got to pass a physical, and I don't know if he can do that yet. So I think that's why they're waiting. They're probably waiting until he's healthy enough to come in to pass the physical. Paul, to your point, yes, the Saints have $11 million in cap space. They signed Willie Gay from Kansas City. They lost Jameis Winston. Eric, again, backup quarterback. So I think they're going to go into the season with what's his name? Derek Carr and Jake Hayner is going to be your backup.
What about Taysom Hill?
Yeah, I was going to say Hill. Hill is a backup quarterback.
No, he's not. Jake Hayner's the quarterback. Taysom Hill's the tight end who plays. He's a gadget quarterback, but your actual backup quarterback is Jake Hayner.
But you can only have two quarterbacks on your roster, so they got to.
But the fact is, regardless, the Saints are in a transition period. I believe the Saints are going to have to go young. They're going to have to build through the draft. I don't think they make splashes in free agency because, with the exception of maybe David or Derek Carr, I really don't think there's anybody on that roster that they can extend or, I don't think they have a lot of money in players that they can make cap space. They had to make $90 million in cap space or $50 million or $60 million in cap space to get plus 11.
What about cutting Cam Jordan?
So I think Cam Jordan and Lattimore might be the only ones that they can do anything with. I mean, I don't think they want to push Derek Carr's down the road much longer because I don't know how long he signed for, and I don't know if they want to keep paying him beyond what he signed for. So again, I mean, I would have to look at the contracts to see what's what, but I don't think there's a lot of players that can change and do their restructure their contract, turn it into signing bonus to kick the can. So I think like I said, I think New Orleans is in a position to build through the draft, get younger, and they're going to go through an adjustment period. I think they draft a wide receiver. I think they go Brian Thomas. I think they take the LSU guy and keep him in New Orleans. I think that's a perfect position at 14 or 15 to pick him. And I think they try to build that offense. They're going to lose Michael Thomas in free agency.
Not a free agent.
Michael Thomas most certainly is a free agent.
No, he most certainly isn't.
Well, then he's going to get cut because. So yeah, they just redid Cam Jordan. Shut up, man! You always do that. But no, so again, I look at the Saints. Shut up. Yeah, so he's going to be cut. Whatever. He is a free agent.
No,
Michael
he is
Thomas
not.
Is a free agent.
No, he isn't. He will be cut.
Paul is speculating.
Yeah,
And-
Paul is.
and-
Listen,
Yes.
he's not a free agent. And if he does get cut, he gets cut. It's good. I'm surprised that it's like Tuesday night and he hasn't got cut yet, since Wednesday's like the day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like usually you want to, I mean, they're cap compliant if they're 11 million over, so that's fine. But it's usually before like real free agency that they're gonna go. Hey, listen, I like this question, Dave, and I know you like to talk New Orleans, and Paul wanted to hear it. I like this. Where is Calvin Ridley gonna end up? Well, probably back in Jacksonville. Unless somebody wants to pay less money. The fact that they spent $13 million on Gabe Davis over 3 years, so $39 million over, like I don't necessarily see him going back, because Jacksonville's been spending some money, but they're not hurting for money either. They're actually pretty bright. So Calvin Ridley, I think he ends up back in Jacksonville. Makes sense to me. Who knows? But
I don't think so. I think there's going to be a wide receiver needy team that gives him the money.
that's potential, but it depends on what he's driving for. I mean, the one thing is he's not like New England wants to sign him. You don't want to play there because Zappy is the quarterback. Because New England's going to be that hot team that's going to somehow find 8 wins.
Eric, I agree with you, because you can't be paying Gabe Davis $13 million a year. You can't be paying Christian Kirk whatever he's paying.
Yeah, a lot.
Whatever he's making, and you can't be paying Calvin Ridley that kind of money. You can't tie up that kind of money in wide receiver. So again, did they redo Trevor Lawrence's contract yet? Because if they didn't, he's going to have to get paid. So again, they might have done it. But again,
I don't think Trevor Lawrence got a contract yet.
So yeah,
No,
and that's something else.
it's only his 4th year.
Yeah, so there's no way that they're going to spend and tie up $35 to $38 million in 3 wide receivers when they're going to have to probably spend $50 million on a quarterback. And it's just the going rate. Do I think he's worth it? Probably not. But I mean, that's what
they don't have to do that till next year with Trevor Lawrence.
But if you sign Ridley and them to contracts, you're still going to spend that. You're going to have that money tied up. So again, and I don't know what.
I thought the cap didn't matter.
It doesn't right now, but the dollars matter that this year, and depending on what you do next year, you're going to have to make sure you have that kind of money to tie up in a quarterback, and that hinders a lot of teams. I mean, if you're a team like Kansas City, if you're a team like Jacksonville or Baltimore, if you're a team like Buffalo, who already has their quarterback on a long-term deal, and you can readjust, but when you have to actually pay that quarterback in his contract year, that money is going to get tied up into that contract year. And then you're going to have to say, okay, we're going to have to take your $50 million you're going to make this year and turn $40 million of it into a signing bonus. So you're only going to count $10 million, but unless you believe in Trevor Lawrence to be your 8-year franchise quarterback guy, doing that doesn't work, because you're still going to end up in cap hell. So again, there's teams like Kansas City and Buffalo that look at Mahomes, they look at Allen and say, you're a Chief for life, you're a Bill for life. I can give you a 10-year contract because I know you're going to retire a Buffalo Bill or you're going to retire a Kansas City Chief, period. Do they have that belief in Trevor Lawrence? That's what we got to find out.
So all that to tell you that Calvin Ridley will not end up in Jacksonville.
Right.
So thank you. So I appreciate that, Dave. So,
that's the long answer.
A very long-winded answer to tell you that he will
About
not
Calvin Ridley.
You know where he should go?
Where's that?
The Washington Commanders.
I think he's waiting to figure out what's going on at quarterback for Washington because they have Marcus Mariota. And as I asked earlier on the chat, is he the guy?
No.
And I can't believe they signed him for $10 million.
Well, you know, real quick funny thing, just real quick funny for you. You know, Eric, you've made fun of Buffalo for going to get Mitch Trubisky for $2.5 million, $5 million for 2 years. Do you know the average backup quarterback right now is $9 to $12 million? Just so you know, because if you look at backups and it's Gardner Minshew's one of them, but there's other ones too. But all of them are sitting at the $10 to $11 million mark. But you know, make fun of Buffalo for spending 2.5 on Money Mitch.
So I just think you could have gotten better quarterbacks at this stage or not.
Who?
Mitch. I think Jacoby Brissett is better than.
He's not better
at this point.
No, he's not.
I think he's better.
Mitch knows our system.
Watch.
Wait. I don't want to get really wrapped up in this conversation, but I gotta ask this question, Eric, real quick. Jacoby Brissett is better. How? And what? I don't think Mitch is good. Jacoby is not.
Let me answer. Jacoby Brissett. Did you watch him with Cleveland? Did you watch how hard the players played around him for him? Okay. That's what a backup quarterback needs to do. He has to rally.
Who has a better record?
Overall, Mitch had some okay years in Chicago, but this ain't 2018.
Sure.
This is
with a shitty team in Chicago, by the way.
Where they are
Cleveland,
now.
Remember, huh?
Mitch was so bad. It was so bad that when Mason Rudolph came in, you saw what a great difference between the two of them. And here's who's better? Mason Rudolph.
I'm
good with that.
Well, wait, can I tell you why? Can I really tell you? It's really simple. Mason Rudolph has been in Pittsburgh's system for 4 freaking years. No wonder why he's that much better. He knows the system.
He needs to get his 5th-year option. The dude's been there for longer than 4 years.
Well, okay, but my point is, and this is my point with you, Eric, and this is what I will argue with you, because when he came in and he threw 7 touchdowns in 4 games and you anointed him the next coming, why does Pittsburgh go out and sign a 35-year-old quarterback when they could have had a guy who they could have continued to grow with and they let him walk in free agency?
Because the hope is that Russell can recapture the magic and beat a team like Buffalo in the playoffs and win.
Sure, can capture the magic for 1 year and then you cheer to go 9-8?
No, then we sign him to a longer deal after that.
You cheer to go 9-8 because you're a mediocre franchise.
You sign him for 1 year doesn't mean you can't re-sign him.
You cheer to go for your 1 year, and then you're going to be happy being a Steelers fan because we're 9-8.
We're back on the Buffalo Power Hour where we're going to crush the Steelers here. And so,
I'm not saying nothing about the Steelers. That wasn't a question about the Steelers.
My thing is Mitch where he's at now, and I can't believe we're back on Mitch. Whoever did,
bring him up.
I'm going to get you guys in the chat tomorrow. Whoever brought Mitch Trubisky up, because what a waste of time that we're sitting here talking about him. But the fact of the matter is that you guys could have signed, and you know who's better and still out there is Mason is better than he is at this point. Would
he have signed for $2.5 million? That's my point. No, I don't think he's signed it for $2.5 million.
Okay.
Because I think that he's going to have a viable place to play in New England, a viable place to go up to Minnesota. There's places where I think Mason Rudolph could be used that isn't a backup in Buffalo because there's still players out there. But anyhow, all that, I just don't think Jacoby Brissett's better. And I don't want to spend the money that they spent on Jacoby Brissett because it's more money than what we had. And I don't like him. I don't think he's any – I mean, I'll take both bad quarterbacks, but one's for much cheaper. Hey, Chicago trades the number 1 pick. I like that question. Sean, I want to go to you because I have my opinions here, but I want to hear yours. Does Chicago take a quarterback at the number 1 pick, or do they stay with Justin Fields and trade it away?
Okay. In my heart of hearts, I want them to keep Justin Fields and trade back at the number 1 pick and grab more draft picks. I keep seeing everything going on and everything with, who's he liking and following on X and Twitter and blah, 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 driving me nuts. I don't know if there's a huge market for him, what you're going to get for him. I would say they're probably going to trade him and then take Caleb Williams as the number 1 pick. I think it's the stupidest thing they could possibly do. I want them to keep him, drop back, and secure those picks. But they're probably, the more I'm reading and looking online, it's just looking like he's going to go. Where is the question? Justin Jefferson's talking about him. Well, obviously, you'd rather have Justin Fields than Sam Darnold.
Why? I don't understand that either.
Well, Sam Darnold,
he's not good. I get it. But Justin Fields has yet. See, that's the funny part, Sean, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, by the way. Keep Justin Fields and build a team around him. If they mess up with Caleb Williams, it's 3 more years to figure it out. And then it's 3 wasted years. You know what you got with Justin Fields, a hell of a runner. You got a hell of a runner and a guy who is indecisive and doesn't make great throws. Sometimes he does, inconsistent, but you got a runner. Go and trade and get more players. Build a great team. Build a great offensive line. Bring in some weapons. And if it isn't Justin Fields, you can find yourself a refurbished Jacoby Brissett 2 years from now to bring in for a bridge. But here's the issue, right? And this is why I'm saying that. When you look at the Mac Jones trade, a lot of people don't want to look at Mac Jones as a value-based trade for what you would get for Justin Fields. But you would. You'd actually get less. Mac Jones and Justin Fields were both drafted in the first round, right? Both of them. Mac Jones has more wins than Justin Fields has. What did Mac Jones garner? What was the value of the trade with the Jaguars? What did they get in return from Jackson? A 6th-round pick. That's what you got for Mac Jones, and that is the value of a Justin Fields. It's the same guy. I don't care about athleticism. Mac Jones has 8 more wins than Justin Fields, far less sacks, far less interceptions, and it's just the way it is. So when I look at value, Chicago says, I want a 1st round. I want a 2nd round. And teams are like, hey, bitch, please. I gave 6th-round pick for Mac Jones, who was a former 1st-round pick who had more wins, and he looked sloppy. At the bottom line for me, Justin Fields is a 6th-round value-driven draft or a trade. I'm not trading him. I'm going to keep him.
And the problem is that what makes this trade market even that much harder is he's coming up on a contract year. So if you're going to trade for him, you're going to have to decide this year if you're going to pay him. If you have to pay him, is he going to be a 1-year rental and you're going to have to either franchise tag him at $30 million, or you're going to have to let him walk anyway. So that's my point.
That's what you're going to, David. You're going to franchise tag Justin Fields. I'm not signing a long-term deal with Justin Fields. I listen. If it wasn't such a shit show, I would trade him. But I'm not going to trade him. I'm going to pay him the $30 million, but I'm not going to go I'm franchise tagging. I'm not extending him. I might do his 5th-year option, but call it a day until he shows that with my 45 picks in the 2024 NFL draft that he can't win. Then I'll cut him or tag him or draft a quarterback next year because we still suck.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that he's just under his rookie contract now, so they keep him 1 more year. If he doesn't perform, and you've traded back, you're going to get someone's 1st-round pick next year. And most likely that team's going to suck.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a quarterback next year. People are like, next year's quarterback market is soft. We don't fucking know yet. Sorry. We don't know yet.
You're right.
But at least you're going to have a chance. Is Caleb Williams, number 1, does he want to go to Chicago? Because if he doesn't and the whole Peyton Manning thing happens, Eli Manning thing happens, you're screwed. He's asking for ownership stake in a team. I mean, what the hell is going on with this guy? But if you do, put pieces around him, see if he can go for 1 more year. If it doesn't, cut ties and then move on, and you are none the worse. Maybe you'll get a 6th-round pick for him next year. it doesn't look like you're getting much for him this year. I mean, Zach Wilson right now is going to go for a 9th round pick, and that's some guy who's working freaking wearing roller skates at Sonic. That's what they're going to get for him.
The Bears are in the worst. I know they say that the Bears control the draft, but the Bears are in the worst position of any team. And I say it for I
totally disagree.
I say it for one reason. The Bears have never drafted quarterbacks well in their history. I'm not talking about the last 5 years, 10 years. In their history, their number one passing quarterback in their franchise history was drafted in 1965. That is how long the Bears have not had a passing attack team in the NFL in history. So the point is, you either pick that guy that everybody talks about as being a generational talent in Caleb Williams, or you are the butt of jokes for the rest of eternity because, again, you drafted Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes. You drafted Justin Fields over whoever. Okay. You've missed on every quarterback you've had the opportunity to draft.
Okay, so my predecessors made bad picks, but now I'm GM, and because they've all made bad picks, I can't pick a quarterback?
No, what I'm saying is you have to draft Caleb Williams if you're the Bears. You can't afford to miss on a quarterback again.
Dave, real quick. You know what they should do? And you guys will hate this decision. But you know who you and I did this draft, and who was the most sure thing of this draft? Do you remember we talked about who's the most sure player in the draft?
Joe.
Man, it was only 2 weeks ago, Dave. I
forget. Was it Joe?
I gotta have Jeff go over there and check on you. Maybe.
No, well, I'm just saying. I think
Joe Mama.
Joe Alt, right?
Yeah.
What do you do? What you do is you go and you get the most sure player in the draft, and you go draft Joel Alt. Because why? Because he's going to be an all-pro. He's going to be a good player, and he's a good piece that you can build around, right? Mm-hmm. Who here thinks that Caleb Williams is going to be Patrick Mahomes? How sure are we? I'm not. He played in the Pac-12 with no defenses. I haven't seen him tested yet. Just like I know Penix played in the Big Ten a little bit, but I'm not sure on Penix's great transformation. He didn't play any defenses out in the Pac-12. They don't play defense out there. I mean, as sure as I am, I'm not sure about Bo Nix. None of those quarterbacks are like, we are sure that they are franchise quarterbacks. And so at this point, you are the Bears. So you have Justin Fields, and you know he can run. So hopefully you have an offensive-minded coach that says, hey, 3-step drop and get rid of the ball. You know, you don't have to hold it for 20 hours every time you throw. So you try to get him to get rid of the ball, and then you try to get him a left tackle that can protect him. And you draft Joe Alt. You go ahead and you take it from the media. What are you doing drafting a left tackle? Why aren't you drafting a quarterback? Okay, whatever. I drafted a left tackle, so if he doesn't work out, it's going to be there in 10 years.
I'm not drafting a left tackle. I'm not doing that at number one because, and here's why I said it, Eric. I'm not saying that you're wrong. But I drop back right to 3, 4, 5, wherever it's at. Maybe I pick him there because I got the 9th pick. But I'm telling you, I'm not trading. I mean, I'm not drafting Caleb Williams. I'm not drafting a quarterback. If I am the Chicago Bears, they've done a good job of the last 2 seasons with their defense, bringing in pieces, right? I don't believe their offensive line is nearly as bad as people say. I think Justin Fields is nearly as bad as people think or don't think. I think he moves outside the pocket because when the backup dude was there, he didn't get sacked that much, and he was fine, right? But neither here nor there. I'm going to go and spend some my draft capital on skill set players that I can put around Justin Fields. And if Justin Fields does not work out, then I can take any dipshit to fill in the blank. I can take a Brock Purdy because everybody in the world says that, well, Brock Purdy just has a really great team. Yeah, Sam Darnold didn't look that great with that team either. But neither here nor there. If the San Francisco 49ers are built the way that people say they are, which I like them. That means that you could take an average Joe and put them in center, and they should be able to produce. So at the end of the day, create the team in Chicago that no matter who because you have the resources to do so with the number 1 pick this year again, right? So you can go and do what you got to do. You got the number 9 pick, so you can trade back to 5, trade again if you want, trade number 9. I don't give a damn, but take that capital and build that team that whoever that quarterback is, they're going to be just fine. So,
Eric, you can run, but the truth will follow. Anyway, they got to keep Justin Fields and drop back out of that number 1 spot. And where they're going to go? Really, they're going to go to 2, 3, or 4.
Top 5.
Well, right.
Yeah, so they're still going to have a top 5 pick. They're still going to get a great pick and just put more picks behind it.
Here's the outside factor. This is the outside factor to all of this. This draft pick, this number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, whatever, this pick is going to either sink or keep alive Chicago's coaching staff. Because and this
every
is,
year.
Hold on 1 second, because this is the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem I have. I've said it forever. It is so unjust to quarterbacks, period. I don't care if it was Sam Darnold. I don't care if it's Baker Mayfield. Okay, Baker Mayfield was drafted into a horrible situation in Cleveland, a franchise that screws up quarterbacks left, right, center, frontward, sideways. Okay, Josh Rosen was drafted into a situation, and I'm not saying Josh Rosen was going to ever be good, but he was drafted into a situation where he came into a lame duck coach with a GM who didn't know his ass from a bottle of booze because he was probably drafting drunk. And the fact is, you screw up these quarterbacks' careers, okay? And trust me, I know all about front offices who screw up quarterbacks' careers. You go to a franchise, you could be would Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes today if the Bears drafted him instead of Mitch Trubisky?
Dave, real quick, come on. So we keep talking about this, but what the smart move, and I see, by the way, Katie, I wish you were here, but Bo Nix could play in Auburn, and he sucked in Auburn. So that's fine, because that's why he went to the Pac-12. But to be honest with you, what's the sure thing to do we're not sure that Justin Fields is not the guy. What we are sure is we're not getting a first-round pick for him. We're not getting a second-round pick for him. So we have him, okay? So as sure as we are not sure Justin Fields is not the guy, we're not sure Caleb Williams is the guy. So we trade down to 3 or 4, and we get a left tackle who is the guy. We pick up another second-round pick, and like Dave said, we continue – or like Jeff said, we continue to build the team.
Hey, if I'm close enough to get Harrison Jr. at 3 or 4, I'm getting him, and then or whichever insert said receiver, and then at number 9, I'll take that left tackle because he's still going to be there. Now, and I say that, David, I like Sean or Eric. I like what you just said. I agree with you, Sean. I agree with you, David. I don't think it matters at this point what Chicago's looking at. I don't think they're feeling the pressure from anything because the bottom line is they are what they are. The dude who's the GM, he's doing a great job. I don't like Eberflus. I don't know if Eberflus is going to last past week 3. I don't know, but I mean, it is what it is. I would say this, regardless of what their staff is, right? What their staff is. Nothing of what you just said matters. I don't think that Mahomes is Mahomes if Mahomes does something else. I think that this has been since the draft existed, this is how it is. Bottom line is, if we were to go do the math, we've talked about in the past, only 2 Heisman Award winners, quarterbacks, have ever even been to a Super Bowl. Neither have won, Joe Burrow and Cam Newton, right? That's the thing. No, number 1 picks overall, do they do it, right? I mean, Joe Namath didn't win he didn't win a Heisman in a Super Bowl. There's only been 2 quarterbacks in NFL history that won a Heisman and been in the Super Bowl, and those are the 2 I mentioned, Burrow and Cam Newton, both L's. You can Google it. That's trivia 101. But anyway, all that being said, the other part is this. Yes, Patrick Mahomes got drafted on number 10, but it was a trade up on a team that worked well. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round because of a team that was already doing well, right? A lot of these quarterbacks that are picked number 1 overall, number 4, number 6. I mean, if you look at the Bills draft with Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, and Sam Darnold, and then you go back and you look at Lamar Jackson at 32. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have done really well for themselves. The rest aren't. But that's like a typical thing. I don't think they ruin their careers. The reality is they don't have anything to play off of.
But
so
what I'm saying is, I'm saying is, okay, they do well because here's the reality. Teams that are picking early in the draft perennially do shitty jobs developing the number 1 position you have to, and that is the quarterback. So my point is, so that's why my point no, it's true. It's a fact that Cleveland, Chicago, Arizona, all these teams, shitty jobs developing quarterbacks. So my point is,
I don't agree with that.
Listen.
I'll take the Chicago, Dave, and I'll take Cleveland too. But I'm not going to sit there and say Arizona.
Why?
Listen,
Kirk played in Arizona. How bad Kyler Murray really is.
No, I think Kyler Murray's horrible.
Okay.
Listen.
Why is that?
Look, hold on. You have 32 NFL teams, Dave, right? Okay. I would tell you that 32 NFL teams historically do bad with quarterbacks, except for one fucking team, and that's Green Bay, because the rest have had myriads of quarterbacks, right? And one happens to be great. Look, are we going to say Indianapolis is the team that just kills it because Peyton Manning was amazing, and then, oh, by the way, after they threw the season and got Andrew Luck and he was great? Those are only 2 quarterbacks in Indy history. I don't want to say Indy history, but in that group time frame. Tom Brady is a developed quarterback team. Tom Brady is the only quarterback. Oh wait, Drew Bledsoe. Those 2 quarterbacks in the history of the Patriots, right? No, I think that there are very few teams that quote unquote develop quarterbacks well. But Dave, more importantly, Andy Reid developed a quarterback in Philadelphia named Donovan McNabb. Yep. And then he left and he developed a quarterback named Alex Smith. And then he developed a quarterback named Patrick Mahomes. So Andy Reid develops quarterbacks. Yeah. Does the Kansas City Chiefs? No. But here's the deal. 40 years, Dave, 40 years is a whole different regime all the time. So I don't historically speaking, Chicago sucks. Okay. I agree. But one team or Cleveland sucks.
Well, then maybe this year they get it right.
I'm sorry. I get mad because that's the same thing where Eric will say Pittsburgh beats the shit out of someone 85 times in a row. Yeah, that's through a whole different lifestyle of people and coaches. It's not a building that makes Pittsburgh all of a sudden the shit. Anyway, go ahead, Sean. I know you want to talk, and I was just yapping.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was just gonna say we have to move on. But I just the whole just fucking trade back, keep them for one more year. Take your luck next year. Just make it. That's it. That's it. No more.
Trade back. All right. Listen to what Sean says. Just trade back. God damn it. Don't listen to him. We don't know.
I don't have all the experience you do, Dave, with back rooms and GMs and shit like that. But
don't give me no shit.
I'll give you shit. It's twoo. It's twoo. It's twoo. All right. So where are we going on next? AFC West. What? Okay. How about the San Francisco 49ers? They made some moves.
Eric, you're wrong, dude.
Oh wow!
But 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers made some moves on that defensive line there, and then also the receiver there, Debo. He's changed his number from 19 to 1.
Well, you lost what? I mean, the Niners lost both Oliver and Kinlaw, right? They're both to the Jets. And then they lost.
They picked up another defensive end.
Who's the 49ers did?
Yeah.
Well, they picked up Leonard Floyd from Buffalo, which was great.
Floyd from Buffalo. They gained one.
Well, they picked up Yetur Gross-Matos.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So they got 2 defensive ends. They lost Kinlaw.
Yeah, still got that linebacker core, which is great.
Who's the linebacker? Who's the 54?
What?
Is it Bobby Wagner?
Or Bobby Wagner? Yeah, Wagner. Yeah.
Okay.
Michael wants to know if we can talk about Josh Allen. The answer is no.
Sure, Mike. Let's talk about him. That linebacker in Jacksonville.
I'm out, man.
Hey, listen, Mitch Morris and Gabe Davis couldn't stand being without a Josh Allen, so they went to Jacksonville to get back with him. Just the non-white version.
That's right. We can talk about Josh Allen all night. He's the best linebacker in the AFC South. That dude is defensive as a baller.
That's awesome.
But no, San Francisco, again, I think they have to figure out what they're doing with Ayuk. If they're going to re-sign him, if they're going to extend him, if they're going to give him a new contract, if they're going to trade him. Again, there's questions about San Francisco that need to be answered. They don't. When I look at San Francisco, I don't look at a lot of needs. I look at a lot of things they have to do to shore up their depth. Okay, whether that's drafting a tight end in the draft to get ready to take over for George Kittle, who's probably a year or so away. But again, I don't look at this team as like, maybe in the secondary, drafting a cornerback or a safety for help like that. But I don't see a lot of glaring needs other than more so depth to replenish the agingness of the team. The fact that they are getting a little old. Other than that,
I'd be interested, Dave, in this. I don't disagree with you at all. I am interested, though. Is there a gap? I mean, there was a gap in my mind for the last 5 years. I don't really care that the Rams won a few years back, but I think San Francisco, for large portions of this, San Francisco has been a really dominant team, and where they lack things offensively, they were able to do things defensively. Now they're back to kind of balanced, right? And their defense played well. Steve Wilkes deserved to get fired. I know a lot of folks are up in arms about all that stuff because blah, blah, blah. But their defense was worse than it had been in years past under Saleh and old boy and Houston. All that being said, I'm interested to see if the gap has been closed at all from the Rams. The Rams made some choices and some things, and we'll see. Seattle hasn't. I mean, Seattle's doing some stuff. I think Arizona's still way out there in the middle of nowhere, not competing. But Seattle re-signed Leonard Williams and Noah Fant. I mean, they lost. I don't remember who they lost, Dave. But Seattle lost. They cut Diggs, Quadri Diggs. They cut. I'm trying to think who else left. Because someone else left. I'm going to tell you right now. They lost. Let's see. They lost a lot. They lost Jordan Brooks. They lost Colby Parkinson, the tight end. They lost Disley, the tight end, which neither here nor there. Who was it that they lost that I thought was a big deal? Not a big deal. Neither here nor there. I don't think Geno Smith is still there. So I'm just concerned between the connecting between Seattle and San Francisco and the Rams. Other than that, I think it's still a two-horse race, and the other two teams will be where they're at. That's Arizona and Seattle can run around. Oh, that's right, Jamal Adams. They cut him as well, so he's still a free agent in Seattle. But San Francisco, I think, is still overall healthy, right? They're good.
You know what I'm shocked about is we're this far into free agency, and Jamal Adams hasn't signed with the Cowboys. So, I mean, that guy's a huge Cowboys fan. He always talked about wanting to go to Dallas, and Dallas really hasn't done much. And that's one of those teams like Buffalo. They're kind of like Buffalo Southwest, where I'm like, hey, you probably need to figure it out and try to win it with this core, or you need to not. And so the Cowboys really need – that's one of those teams where you probably need to add a couple pieces and try to get over the hump. Are you going to line up against San Francisco with the same team, like in the playoffs, like you've been lining up every year? Or is Buffalo going to line up against Kansas City with the same team like they do every year and expect a different result? Or are they going to try to – those are teams that need to add that missing element in order to get over the hump. like Houston is. Houston's like, hey, we're close, so let's go get it. And does that strategy always work? No, but also standing pat doesn't work either. So I mean, you might as well figure it out and see what you got to do. So I mean, I find this very interesting. We know Arizona's going to stink. We know that division. It's the 49ers, and until somebody takes them off the throne, it really isn't worth discussing because the Rams could. But it's the 49ers division, and that's all there is to it. I mean, it's just that simple.
And again, I think what you got to look at is when it comes to safeties. Obviously, we saw a ton of them released. So the question you have to ask yourself is, number one, what do you value in a safety, and are you going for win right now, or are you going to or do you want to sign somebody who's young and can have longevity in that position? And so there's teams like you say, Eric, go for it. If you're going to go all in, like Dallas, okay. Dallas, Jamal Adams makes sense because Jamal Adams is how old now? 32, 33, something like that. He's an older player. He might not be that old, but he's the kind 28. Of guy. 28. 28. He's had a couple of years of injuries. Okay. We see what happens to safeties as their years progress. They slow down and do certain things. So if you say, I'm all in, do you go all in and do that for the year or two? Or do you go out and you get a guy like Cameron Curl, who's younger, sign him to a longer contract where you can actually build around the team and continue to have that continuity? So I guess it depends on the team you're looking at and what you want to do. Like Adams should go to the Texans. Maybe so. But is there a better longer-term option out there than a Jamal Adams if you want to have a sustained defense for a number of years? Now, again, I'm not saying Jamal Adams isn't good. I'm just saying that Jamal Adams has been injured. And you have to take those injuries into account as to how you're going to build your defense.
What's really funny is Michael says, I'm surprised Dallas missed out on so many running backs. I can't wait to watch Deuce Vaughn in his 5'2" frame go out there and carry the rock for Dallas right now because they do need a running back, and boy, did they miss the boat on that.
Well, I don't know if they missed the boat. I think it's really interesting, Eric, and this goes back to what I was saying just over the course of the last few free agent frenzy type situations, to where Dallas gets shafted on these people coming. I gotta be honest, man. I remember a time when the Yankees were just so, like, people were just so sick of the Yankees. I mean, don't get me wrong. You talk to a lot of Major League Baseball players, they'll say, I wanted to play for the Yankees, but I couldn't, right? I for whatever reason, they didn't get paid or whatever the case would be. And then there's some guys that are like, I would never play for the Yankees. Ken Griffey Jr., who is one of my favorite ever, would never play for the Yankees. Well, I look at it like this. I think a lot of these folks are looking at the Cowboys and they're just not – the flavor is not there. I mean, they'll say it when they're there. They're playing for them. They'll talk about the Cowboys and the Cowboys. But for years, the last 4 free agents just are I'm going to go play with the Cowboys. Well, I'm going to sign over here instead. Gregory did it. I mean, Lawrence did it. How many different players have done it? So I just say it to say it's not the place to go anymore. I mean, Dallas is an attraction. It's a location, a destination. The Cowboys, not necessarily, because it's been 20, 25, 30 years since they've done anything. So it's just interesting to me to see where Jamal Adams, maybe he goes and plays there. Maybe somebody else does, but I don't know. Like, I thought Henry was going to Dallas. He was just there buying a house or some shit. And he's like, I'm going to live in Dallas, but I'm going to go play in Baltimore because, well, they're competitive. I don't know. It's just interesting. I think they might have lost their flavor a little bit, maybe from a player's perspective. That's just I
don't disagree. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say they definitely did. Jerry Johnson came in. I mean, Jimmy Johnson came in, and they won 3 Super Bowls because of Jimmy. Okay, I understand he only won 2, and you can say but the who was that jackass from Oklahoma?
Barry Switzer.
Yeah, he came in, but he just inherited that team. He didn't have to do anything. That was all Jimmy. They haven't done anything since. And Dallas has just been kind of, they had some good teams, but they always end up the same way. They can't get over the hump. So with that being said, yeah, Dallas is no longer like a premier place you want to go. Because I don't think they're going to get there this year, next year, the year after. Until Jerry Jones, hopefully it doesn't happen, but passes away, Dallas is going to be exactly where they have always been, on the fringe and just making it and then bailing out right away. One thing I just want to talk about, the NFC West. I'm really surprised the Rams haven't made more of a splash of free agency because they got a ton of money. And they were not a bad team last year. And they really haven't done anything yet. And they had like almost $90 million in cap space. So I'm kind of scratching my head going, what's going on here? You guys could be instant, right back in there. And they're just, I don't know what's going on. Does anyone have any insight to why they're not going after some of these big name players?
I don't know why, but I can say that maybe. And again, the one thing that I'll say about all this legal tampering and all these big name players and stuff like that some of these teams hold off the announcement of their signings and stuff like that. They wait. There can be a slew of people that you don't even realize. I didn't even hear anything about the Rams being in on this guy, or I didn't hear about the Steelers being in on this guy. Some of those teams hold their cards very close to vest. Like we can sit here and talk about any team like Dallas or whatever. They very well might have deals with players that they wait to announce. So, the fact that you don't hear from these teams doesn't mean they're not actively doing any work. And it doesn't mean they're not actively.
And just throwing it out there, Dave, as well, is they didn't have a huge free agent pool, right? So when you look at their free agents, like Carson Wentz is a free agent for the Rams. Like they have like 12 guys that are free agents. How many of those guys are like real players? So it's a matter of, if I have 53 guys on my team and only 13 are free agents, if I'm well within my means of cap, I'm going to draft 7 rounds of players. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't. There isn't a significant amount of quote unquote needs from a contractual perspective, and maybe they're looking for that guy, and maybe that guy's a trade, Sean, or maybe that guy has just not been, or maybe they are talking to him. But again, if you were to look at the top 100 free agents, still several left. Top 40 is dwindling down, but the top 100. So I'm sure the Rams are going to do what they're going to do.
And here's another thing. Teams have to be cap compliant by tomorrow at 4:00, which means the teams that aren't cap compliant today, and I don't know how many are left that aren't, there might be another slew of free agents on the market because teams are going to have to dump players.
Make cuts and all that stuff.
So again, the guys that the Rams, the guys that these other teams that we're not seeing making these quote unquote big splashes for, are probably waiting for all the dominoes to fall. There are some teams who target certain positions, certain player, and say, I know this guy's available. This is the guy I want. This is the guy that fits my team. It's Monday. Let's go. And there's people who sit back and play the waiting game. Like I've said, some of the best free agents don't get signed till July. Leonard Floyd last year, perfect example. Waited out. Signed in Buffalo the day before training camp. Okay, one of the best free agents, cheapest guys, and that's what happens. Some of these guys wait because even during the summer, players get dropped, players fall, and some of the best bargains are out there. So you have the money doesn't mean you have to spend all the money. And I think the one thing the Rams realized is getting into cap hell and draft pick hell, trying to win the Super Bowl right then and there, it probably taught them a little bit of a lesson in how to spend and ways not to get back into that position because they're not there right now. So, again.
Hey, real quick, DJ Reader's a free agent?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
So any team that needs a defensive tackle, he'd be a hell of a pickup.
So I guess we got, what do we got? Like 10 minutes left on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sean, in the last 10 minutes, obviously the three of us have, just like the chat, dominated our time. What's on your mind, Sean?
Not much. There's just so much going on right now. It's tough mentally to keep track of everything. I'm kind of getting lost in everything that's going on. You know, it's just kind of wondering what, some of the teams are even thinking. Chicago is always on my mind because, disclosure, my girlfriend's from Chicago. She's a Chicago fan. So she's used to misery just like me. That's why we get along so well. I guess Carolina kind of piqued my interest a little bit just because they are not in good. They don't have a lot of draft capital there. They don't seem to have a lot of money. They're making some moves, but they're just not making a lot. Are they going to be as bad as they were last year? I think they probably will. There was one other team that I was just thinking of that I can't. Yeah, it escaped me. But oh Jesus, here we go.
Wait,
but
who did Jacoby sign with?
Patriots.
Yeah,
that's a good pickup for New England. He'll win more games than Mitch will ever win.
You're right, because Mitch will win 0 because he's a backup. Jesus Christ.
So what happens, Sean? And this is Jeff being.
Wait, let Sean talk.
I wasn't trying to distract. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead,
Sean. Sorry about their continued messenger feud on the show.
Now, two other things. It's kind of like Jacksonville is like you have a group of friends and they're just sitting there, and they're like, as soon as you break up with your girlfriend, he goes out with her. They're kind of doing that to the Buffalo Bills right now. Like almost everyone in the Buffalo Bills are like, okay, he's on the market. They're going for it. Oh boy.
Knock the shit off.
So, all right.
Swear to God.
And the last one was, God, it wasn't New England. Damn it. I had it on my mind, and then all of a sudden these messages keep popping up at me. No, that's it. That's all I got right now.
Okay, I'm not going to let these two talk. I'm going to keep them on mute because here's the deal. You're right.
You're going to keep me on mute?
Because you're an idiot. You guys just go continue your messenger feud somewhere else, not during the show, for God's sake.
I remember.
Okay, Sean, go ahead.
Okay. Miami. Holy crap. They are in serious trouble. Did they lose just like half their team, half their starters this week in the last 48 hours?
Yep.
Holy crap.
They got some bangers, though. They got some replenishments for it, though. It's not – Miami did okay.
Why would Poyer want to go there? That's a good question to me, because Miami's kind of like one of those teams where he goes from probably winning maybe a Super Bowl with Buffalo. And I was thinking, hey, maybe he could take a cap-friendly deal, come back. Buffalo needs secondary help. But then he goes to Miami, and I'm like, is Miami any better?
That's where his wife wanted to go. His wife wanted to go there last year.
I think this was you play for us one more year and let's take another run at it. Then we'll let you go and you can finish your career where you want to go.
Yeah,
pretty simple.
I think that's what it was. But I mean, look, listen. Van Ginkel left. I mean, Wilkinson went to the Raiders. There's a bunch of folks left. But then you got Shaq Barrett that came. You got Jordan Poyer that came. You got the one cat that came, and I can't remember his name, but he's not bad. They've made a couple good plays in there. They still need a defensive coordinator. I know that Fangio left to go up to hang out in Philly. Who did they sign as their defensive coordinator?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either because it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, Miami definitely fell off there, Sean. But that's all on the defense side of the ball. Offensively, they're still in the same spot. Braxton Berrios is still a free agent. They still have their core folks. And right now they're still waiting the option with Tua, and I think that's their holdup. Is a lot of the things that they have to do is based on Tua's fifth-year extension, but his long-term contract.
Yeah, Anthony Weaver is now their defensive coordinator.
That's right.
Okay.
Which good on him. We'll see how that plays out.
Well, again, I also think that this year is going to be a make or break year for their head coach. I think after the collapse of last year, he better get it right. Because, again, I think the one thing about their owner, Ross, even though, he expects this team to win with the players they have, with what he spent on Tyreek Hill, what he might have to spend or what he's probably going to have to spend on Tua. So I think Mike McDaniel comes into this season with a hell of a lot of pressure, and we saw over the course of last year and the last 5 weeks of the season exactly the kind of coach and what he does under pressure.
Time out. I find this interesting, this conversation, because it's almost like looking in the mirror, and you guys are like looking in the mirror and you're talking to yourself, because I think there's a hell of a lot of pressure on every team in the AFC East to do something this year. And I think 3 coaches outside of New England could be fired if they don't produce.
I don't disagree.
The Jets, if Rodgers is there all year and they're not productive and they don't make the playoffs, he's gone. Buffalo, if they go 9 or 10 wins, he's gone. And Miami, if they don't produce, he's gone. So I mean, this is like
I've never
differentiated or maybe
I disagree with a coaching issue in Miami. You say a collapse, and I just want to throw it out there, right? I think losing to Buffalo twice from a Miami perspective is bad. It's kind of like Michigan losing to Ohio State or vice versa, and it gets bad, and then you start talking about wanting to fire coaches and stuff, right? I get that. But you talk about a collapse. They lost to, I don't know, Baltimore. They beat Dallas. They lost to Buffalo. They lost to good teams. And I say that at the end of the year. They routed a horrible Russell Wilson-led Denver Broncos by 80, right? Whatever the case would be. But I look at what happened to Miami in week 10 all the way to the end, and I look at all their players that just were dismantled. And I know Buffalo went through that too. I'm not giving that as an excuse for Buffalo because it's been our normal thing the last few years. McDaniels has some time. And, oh, by the way, I don't necessarily think it was a McDaniels thing and Ross is going to jump on him nearly as much as the Fangio was a broken experiment. I mean, that was supposed to be the answer. And we saw how that played out almost as horribly as the Giants experiment with Martindale and
well, I guess this is my only issue with Miami. You cut and you got for me, Van Ginkel being a free agent, I would have done what I could as Miami to re-sign him because I think he's a good player. I do. I think Van Ginkel's a really good linebacker. He's physical. He's tough. He chases the ball. He's tenacious. He makes plays. He runs down plays. So you get rid of.
He was their third. He was their depth guy, Dave. He wasn't even a starter.
He might be their depth guy, but he came out okay, and
he got hurt.
So let me finish. So you let this guy walk. Then you go out and you sign aging Shaq Barrett, good linebacker. Not saying he's not, but you are replacing your youth with we got to win now. We got to win now. So again, as I say, you sit there and you say, I don't think Mike McDaniel's under pressure. If you're going to go in and get rid of your youth to win now, you better bet your ass he's under pressure, because if you don't win now, you have to pay your quarterback $50 million a year. If you don't win now, your ass is in the unemployment line, period. And so, yeah, he's under pressure.
I think the pressure lies, David, into do they sign him or not.
Lost 9 starters on defense.
I don't give a fuck. Listen, I don't care what you're saying. I know they lost 9 starters. I got it. We're not Buffalo. We're not talking about Buffalo. We're talking about Miami. I will sit here and say the moment a decision is made by the GM and the coach to sign or not to sign Tua, that is when pressure starts. Period.
Yeah.
Because they have freedom to move right now. They didn't do the Daniel Jones dumb shit. Now they're going to be regretting it, right? When we talked last year at this exact moment, when Daniel Jones got his $40 million contract, and I said the dumbest shit in the world, and Sean spoke about, well, they got to do it because Dable made the playoffs. And you said, oh, they got to do it because Dable made the playoffs. And I said, I don't give a shit. They didn't want to give him his 5th-year option. Franchise tag him and move on or let him go. Well, here we are, and you're talking about I'm going to let him go. Eating that contract. Dable should be fired right now before the next season because it was a stupid-ass decision. He won't be. He'll be fired at the end of this season. If Tua is signed for a long-term deal, Dave, paying him $40 million, then the pressure starts. And if they don't win then you fire the guy. Right now, don't sign this dude to a $40 million per year contract because you still have flexibility within that. That's my point.
Well, but I think Tua is going to get his contract.
And if he does, then we change the tone of this conversation. Then I'm right, Dave. You're right. The pressure's on. I'm asked to sign Tua.
So again, I just look at it. And again, to your point, Eric, I said that Sean McDermott was in the hot seat last year. I don't disagree with you. I believe that any coach who's had teams who have not met or exceeded their expectation, okay, based on their talent, whatever, they should be in the hot seat because you are either there's something. If the talent isn't holding you back, then there's something else holding you back. And the only thing that's holding you back is probably your coach. Okay. So again, and I could say that for probably 28 other NFL teams. So I'm not disagreeing or arguing your point about that. So again, I look at it, getting back to the Rams, I think they're waiting. I think they're being patient because, again, like Jeff said, they don't have a lot of guys who are free agents this year. So I think they are being picky. I think they are going to address the needs that they have in a clear, concise, and thought out manner. They're not just going to spend money because they have it. They're going to target specific needs. And because, again, when these contracts do expire or when it's time to have to either re-up or spend that money for their core players, they can carry that money over to the year that they have to and have plenty of money to do that, plus do damage in free agency for the guys that they lose. So, again, I think they're being smart.
So closing thought here, a couple things here. And let's not talk about Mitch Trubisky for the love of God. So that guy's gotten way too much time here. But closing thoughts here. What would be really fascinating is you talk about the pressure Buffalo's under and the pressure the Jets, and I think a lot of these AFC East teams are to perform. And you talk about Brian Dable and wanting to be fired. You can connect the dots from this show that, hey, Brian Dable ends up coaching the Buffalo Bills next year, and we can talk about it on the show next year when you guys hire him for the head coach. So that's my closing thought for the night. What a fun conversation that'll be.
One last thing, Eric. Is Mike Tomlin under pressure this year?
He's got 1 year left on his contract, and what's interesting is Russell Wilson has a 1 year contract. So I do think this is and here's a little thing that we don't always listen to everything that gets said. Rooney says, I'm tired of losing in the first round. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of not having production in the playoffs. I'm tired of the one and dones. So what do? They go sign a quarterback who's won in the playoffs, and they go get Patrick Queen. And I'm sure, and I'll report it here, they'll bring in a wide receiver to replace Deontay Johnson by the end of tomorrow. They'll have another wide receiver in there. But that is you say, well, why are they not getting Justin Fields, or why are they not doing this or that? Well, that's because they're ideally trying to win right here and right now.
Didn't Tomlin sign a 2-year extension?
No, he's got 1 year left on his contract.
I thought they gave him 2.
Yeah, so not yet. They're talking extension, but until he does, he is under pressure to win and win in the playoffs because the Rooney, like Dan, his dad was a pretty patient guy, but I can tell you, Art's more like his grandfather, and his grandfather for a while, he was very not patient. He was very impatient, and so ideally, that's why when Bradshaw was young and starting off, they had Gilliam, they had all these different quarterbacks, and they put some pressure on Bradshaw to perform. And lucky enough,
when was the last year the Steelers were in the Super Bowl?
13 years ago.
In 2010.
He's as patient as a mother.
Well, that was Dan for most of that because Dan died not too long ago, and so Art took over for Dan. So ideally, this is Dan or Art's thing, and Art's, he's the Rooney, and ultimately they still are the power in Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens here with that. But closing thoughts on that, and we're going to talk forever, would be it's free agency. Be happy about your Russell Wilsons. Be Super Bowl or bust. Be excited about your guys signing because come September and October, people start getting hurt. People start throwing interceptions. People start sucking. And then you're like, damn, I wish it was March.
Well, I still think Mitch Trubisky should have got a fair shake in Pittsburgh. I think that from the standpoint that he went into Pittsburgh and they were already handing him the quarterback job to Kenny Pickett, he really didn't get a fair shake. So I think you gave up on that guy way too soon.
Oh no, he had 4 starts and he sucked, and then he sucks again. Look, but that's because they had Canada as the offensive coordinator, and then the new Pittsburgh doesn't have a great offensive play caller. I mean, hopefully this guy changes. Here, my last thoughts for the day are simple. I'm upset Poyer went to Miami. I'm a huge Jordan Poyer fan. I love the dude. I won't buy a Miami Dolphin Jordan Poyer jersey because I'll never buy a Dolphin jersey besides the Ricky Williams jersey that I had. But all that being said, I hope he has a great year. There's a lot more stuff to come around, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the week and the months ahead with free agency. I am more excited tomorrow about cuts, Sean, specifically to figure out who those new free agents are that aren't mentioned yet because it'll open up some of that gameplay a little bit. So we'll have more to talk about whenever we do our next show. But that's all I have. Sean, any last thoughts for you?
Yeah, I want to thank the beard, the morning beard, the evening beard, whatever beard it is right now. Don't stroke it more than 3 times when you're playing with it. Welcome back to the show. We've missed you. You definitely add something to this. There's so much going on with free agency and then the draft coming up. It's going to be a very interesting month of football. This is the only sport that actually you really pay attention to on the off season because it makes a difference. So I'm glad to be a part of that. Skip Bayless, I'm still coming after you every day. You can get crazy as you want because I'll tell you, this panel right here is as correct as you ever have been or ever will be. I'm getting in his face. So I'm going to have him call me out. But besides that, guys, have fun. Yeah, celebrate all your victories, commiserate and all the losses that your team gets, and let's get ready for the draft, which is going to be absolutely crazy this year.
So my final thoughts are this, and I've said it, and I'll keep saying it. The NFL season.
Oh, you were the first final.
No, that was just doing that to get under Eric's skin. So shut up. No, my final thought is this. The NFL season is not won in March. Free agents are awesome. This is a great time of the year. People get switch jerseys. But at the end of the day, remember, you still have a draft to go through, and free agency isn't over in March. It goes on throughout the offseason. Some of the best free agent signings don't happen until training camp or even during training camp. And there's always people that fall off on the wayside that you don't think are going to be available that become available. So, again, enjoy this time. Enjoy getting them new jerseys for the players that are on your team. They're all Super Bowl winners. They're all champions. They're all going to make you guys great. Just remember, at the end of the season, there's only one winner and there's 31 losers. So everybody who thinks they did great in free agency, at the end of the year, 31 of you are going to be disappointed, and there's only going to be one winner at the end. So enjoy it. Talk about it. It's a great time of the year. It's my favorite time of the year, but there ain't no winners or losers until February.
David, I just want to tell you that this isn't my last thought. We're thoughtless now, but I just want to tell you, you said it's my favorite time of the year, but the moment that whatever date is that you have set your alarm when you dress up as Elf and run around your house with your little elf costume on is your favorite time of the year. This is not it. And by the way, everybody out there, he does do that. He's a little bit of a weirdo. But anyway, all right. I have no more thoughts. I'm thoughtless.
This is true.
We've been thoughtless for a long time.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. You guys all have a great day, great night, whatever the hell that just meant. We'll be back tomorrow for our free agency wrap. I'll figure out what time that's going to be, probably about 7 o'clock Eastern. So y'all tune in. We'll be back to talk about some free agency. Y'all be good. Have a great night. Jeff, take us out.
Hey, look at my boy. I'm dancing here. I'm dancing here. I want to show you that.
That's a wrap for this week from the couch. Join us next time and tell a friend.
I'm liking this show a little bit more every day.